Thought you'd be more mad. You know, maybe at another time where I wasn't so happy with how smart the cast was. What's up, guys? Okkotsu here, and here we are to do a discussion about the battle between Yuta Okkotsu versus Kenjaku, the cursed sorcerer of 1,000 years, maybe more, and why I think it was indeed quite underwhelming. But ultimately, why I think it does a massive service to the characters, their intelligence, and the narrative, and its consistency as a whole. So let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into it. What's up, guys? Okkotsu here, and fun fact, did you know that I do, in fact, have it on me, and I keep it on me at all times? And another fun fact, Yuta Okkotsu, that young fella, he kept it on him, no sheath or nothing, and he had it on at all times. Bro was ready. He was waiting. The legendary second to Satoru Gojo himself. So, Yuta Okkotsu versus Kenjaku. This is a battle that has kind of been hyped up ever since Kenjaku was confirmed to be Kenjaku. Now, obviously, if you read JJK 0, and then you saw stitches on Geto's head, then you were probably one of the smart ones who was like, wait a minute, something here seems a little bit suspicious. I don't think that's actually Geto. That may be an entirely new character. And if you're one of them, someone who read JJK 0 before you read JJK, and then you saw Geto with the stitches, and you put everything together, then you realize, oh, wait a minute, maybe that ain't Geto. Maybe for real, for real. But if you're like me, someone who didn't know a Zero from a JJK, I had not a clue who Geto was when I first started reading through the narrative, and I didn't have a clue that he was Kenjaku until the chapters came out, because I joined around the Yuji versus Yuji fight in terms of reading through the manga. So I had not a clue who Kenjaku was, but this battle has been hyped up ever since Kenjaku was revealed to not be Geto and be his own independent individual, the big brain boy himself. When Yuta Okkotsu was brought up by the strongest sorcerer of the modern day, Gojo Satoru. And Gojo was like, remember who beat up that body before I ended up stepping in and slaying it? And Kenjaku dropped the legendary ironic line nowadays. You know, I don't get what everyone sees in that boy. He has boundless cursed energy and the ability to conditionally copy cursed techniques. But ultimately, he can never become the next Satoru Gojo. Ultimately, he is no threat. And of course, hundreds of chapters, hundreds is dragging it. It's not 100. What? Nah, hundreds is dragging it. It's not 100. It's like 150 chapters later. Looks like somebody was wrong. And Kenjaku ended up being struck down by the second only to Satoru Gojo. Now, admittedly, before I get into why I think this is still fantastic, here's what I expected from Yuta versus Kenjaku. I thought we were going to get the best fight in the series. Fun fact, and spoilers for a video that may be coming out sooner or later, but Sendai is my favorite fight, not in the series, because I still think Yuji and Todo versus Mahito's straight liquid peak perfection, but in terms of the Tokyo colony and the Tokyo other colony and the other Tokyo colony and the Sakurajima colony and Sendai colony, Yuta's Gauntlet Run, my favorite fight in the entire series. Admittedly, it's a compilation of fights and kind of a free-for-all, so that's kind of cheating. But essentially, I thought I was getting that plus like 50. I thought I was finally going to see Yuta Okkotsu be stretched to his limit. Like, sure, I believe that he was pushed to a relatively high fight in Sendai, but everybody and their mama don't. So, going with the concept of what everybody and their mama think, that Yuta Okkotsu was casually low diffing, mollywopping Ryu, Earl, Kurushi, and everybody there. Well, true, yeah, he literally went to that proof. But still, going with that idea, I was ready to see Yuta Okkotsu get pushed, especially with a whole month time skip where he apparently had time to review the Shibuya footage, had time to watch Angel use their curse technique, had time to study with Gojo. The man had copied 5 minutes of Rika. He could get a Frika Dika after watching Gojo versus Suka. And I thought he was going to come to Kenjaku with some new tech. I thought we were finally going to see Yuta Okkotsu cooked to the ultimate extreme. I'm talking all different techniques, from Angel's technique to maybe a bootleg version of Limitless to maybe blood manipulation to maybe who knows what else he could have whipped out his back pocket. And I thought Kenny was going to start dropping nonsense, craziness, insanity, left, right, up, down, left, right, no cheat code. I thought we were about to see this man pull out curses on curses, by curses, or around curses, for curses, whipping out gravity techniques, revealing that final third technique that he may or may not have had, according to Yuki. Maybe even a fourth technique on top of that, since we don't know how his technique works. I thought we were going to see that man do so much big brain stuff, and you'd have to do so much big brain stuff that would be literally the most close quarters and high diff fight in the entire series, only next to Gojo versus Sukuna itself. I thought we were going to leap into an anthology, maybe a whole volume worth of chapters, because these are the only two characters in the series that can really allow that. I love Gojo versus Sukuna. I have many problems with it. Not many. I have like two. But like, I have problems with Gojo versus Sukuna. But the thing is, both were very, very limited in what they could do. That's one of my biggest issues with the fight. Sukuna was limited for the fact that Gojo literally just had the infinity. He could really rock on any block in front of Sukuna for no matter any time period, really, just because of how powerful he was with the infinity alone. And I love Gojo. Man, it's like 3 moves. 3. And one of them he doesn't even use that often. And the other one he doesn't use that well. And the third one, I mean, like, it takes a lot of time to charge up, so he couldn't use it that much. So ultimate, well, 4, because Unlimited Void. So like, 4 moves. That's cool and all. But they're colors and some Brain Blast. And I think everybody named Mama knew the Brain Blast wasn't going to work, and it didn't. So ultimately, the battle kind of, despite its massive, insane scale and the stretching, and I mean like stretching, I might as well have taken Play-Doh and yanked it apart. The stretching that was the battle of Gojo vs. Sukuna, of the Jujutsu principles that we had long held established ever since the series began. Fantastic. Beautiful, immaculate, chef's kiss, gorgeous, but ultimately in terms of variety, in terms of chaos, in terms of madness, in terms of literally, truly the peak of Jujutsu. I've called Sendai this before, and I'll call it again. Sendai felt like a battle of gods, like on some Dragon Ball type beat. We had people throwing out massive building erasing blasts, people were shattering space, people were calling cockroaches from everywhere this side of the Mississippi. Things were going buku bonkers in Sendai, and I thought we were going to get a run back of that. Because once again, Yuta and Kenjaku are 2 characters who are actually allowed to do that. Because one literally has a copy technique that allows them to use multiple techniques, and the other has cursed spirit manipulation. And considering this is Gege Akutami, the man could literally pull out any curse, and I would not be able to question it. He could pull out me. He could reach into the curse bag and pull out me for all I knew. That's the kind of hype I was looking for. A proper rematch between Yuta and Geto, with both combatants being superior. I love Geto. I think he's a pretty cool dude, but not only does he suffer from JJK0 syndrome, aka no domains in a relatively short fight, but also he suffers from, being Geto and like actually loving sorcerers and not really wanting to snuff out Yuta, and thus holding back a lot and not using cursed spirit manipulation as well as he could. So I thought we were going to get Kenjaku smacking cursed spirit manipulation around in ways we had never seen before, whooping out new applications of the technique, working around cursed speech, doing things that would make Yuta stretch and stress as much as humanly possible. I wanted to see Yuta drag to the most extreme depth this side of Mississippi. And here's my thing. As much as I am a Kenjaku, a Jaku Jacker, if you will, I still wanted Yuta to win, because that would be the most metal thing ever. Yuta Okkotsu, the new generation, the man who's underestimated, to come in and beat Kenjaku, even if it is the most extreme diff fight Yuta's ever experienced. He could lose an arm, a leg, his left big toe, everything. I wanted it. I wanted him to still win. And I want him to do it against Kenjaku, because it felt like we had been itching and scratching for that battle for over 100 chapters. Once again, these are the only 2 in the entire series that can pull out literally anything, and none of us can ask any questions. Like, notably, there are some things in the Gojo and Sukuna fight where on both sides, I'm not even gonna lie, even as a Gojo glazer, on both sides, they pulled out certain things that make absolutely no sense, and had me questioning it, and the whole fandom questioning it, and had probably even Gege questioning himself on the stuff he could pull out. But with Kenjaku and Yuta, they could literally pull out anything. It's like the fight kind of wrote itself, but it didn't write itself. Because you could go in 15 billion different directions. Quite literally, how many curses does Kenjaku have? I know there's like discrepancies of whether or not he actually has like 10 million, or he released the 10 million. But essentially, even if he had like 2 Karushis in his back pocket, can you imagine 2 Karushis going buku bonkers all over Yuta Okkotsu? He has to struggle and strategize around them. And we got fully manifested Rika getting ganked by a whole bunch of curses. We have Kenjaku whipping out the anti-gravity technique and any other techniques he has in his back pocket, and strategizing with that big old brain of his to go to the next level. I wanted it all. I was itching. I was scratching. I was fiending. I was ready for it. Especially considering Once again, the fight had been built up for a minute. The moment Yuta was reintroduced into the narrative, softly, we saw his new design. But admittedly, do we see, I think that's a movie exclusive thing. I don't remember if we actually see his current series design in Zero. I don't think we do. Well, I know we see it in the movie. We get the post-credit scene of him in Africa with Miguel. And we see his modern series design then. I don't think we see it in the original JJK Zero, though I haven't checked that in a little bit. So I'm going to take a quick look at that right now. But essentially, ever since we got his new design, and we had Kenjaku talking smack, I was ready and willing to see that man cook. On both ends, absolutely and indubitably. But let me make sure I'm going speeding at the speed of light all the way to the end of chapter 4. Yeah, we don't see his updated design until that point when Gojo mentions him to Kenjaku. So this was building up to likely be my favorite battle in the series. Then no lie. It probably would have dethroned Mahito versus Yuji and Tono for me. And I love that fight. I love that fight. Well, trust me, when the anime comes out with that one, you're going to get like a 2-hour battle breakdown on that. Because I love that battle so much. But I really like Kenjaku. And contrary to popular belief, I really like Yuta. So those two, with their infinite battle potential, seem like they could have the best fight in the series. But then Gege Akutami must have just heard my hype. He must have heard me yelling from all the way across the ocean and said, hey, wait a minute. I know I've been building up to this for a hot minute. A minute and a half, if you will. Allow me to stroke my cat beard menacingly as I consider the ramifications of what if I did something even more devious and drastic. And he decided to hand Yuta Okkotsu, his katana, and a funny little guy we know as Takaba. And that left Kenjaku wide open for a quick swing. Your boy almost sliced his own keyblade now. I would have screamed. But with that being the case, we have 243 ending off with the swift decapitation of the most ancient and wisest character in the entire series, Kenjaku. Now, once again, before I start praising this indubitably, because I know y'all are going to be like, Pencil, that's a whole bunch of hype for a battle that you didn't end up getting. How are you going to say it's underwhelming, but you still liked it? Hold on. Let me cook it a little bit. The reason that I'm still super duper down with this, even in spite of all my hype, is because we still got my favorite character having a really good... I mean, it's hard to call Kenjaku versus Takaba a fight, really. I mean, I guess it is in the most, like, legal terms. Like, I bet if I were to look it up on the wiki, it would be Kenjaku versus Takaba. But I got a whole bunch of Kenjaku. I love Kenjaku. I think Kenjaku's really neat. And, you know, I got Yuta in his element. And that's really cool. My thing is, right, even with Gege coming out the clutch, drawing a blade, and instantly decapitating my boy, just dropping him down like he's nobody, fodder, random. Let me tell you something. I think you know, and I think I know, and I think even if you don't know, or pretend not to know, I think you and I know Kenjaku just has a little bit too much plot armor for this to really be over. Now, do I think Kenjaku himself may be cooked? I'm kind of 50-50 on that still. I mean, he literally says at the end of 243 he's cooked. Like, he says, so I see. I hate to leave so much undone, but my will shall be carried on. So, like, he doesn't say he himself. He says his will. So, like, that doesn't sound like him. And, like, let me do a quick Google search of the word will, but allow me to make sure that I understand the definition of the word will, right? Expressing the future no, not like that. I need the noun. Expressing a request? Nah, give me the noun, bucko. The faculty by which a person decides on and initiates action. Control deliberately exerted to do something or restrain one's own impulses. A deliberate or fixed desire or intention. So his will, that can mean a lot of things. I can think of multiple cases where a will meant, you know, a character perishes, but then, like, their child or a friend of theirs or a successor, hypothetically, came in and cooked for them. And I can also think of many cases where someone said, my will be carried on, and they literally reincarnated into the final boss. Like, on, like, 5 different occasions. 1 from manga. Actually, 3 from manga. 3 from manga. one from a video game, and one from a book. Strange combination of things. But I've seen wills being carried on before, and I don't think Kenjaku's actually done. So even if I do find Kenjaku versus Yuta a bit underwhelming on the front that we don't get the endless potential that this fight had, I don't buy it. Sorry. Gege has tricked me too many times before in believing the villains may be cooked. And while this does seem so ultra omega definitive, so did 235. So did 235. So like I'm not too confident that Kenny's actually cooked. And number two, I love one thing above all others. It's not story. It's not, okay, that's a lie. I really do love good art. I really, really love good art. But what I love is characters. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Characters, characters, characters. You want me to love your series, your work of fiction, your whatever? Give it some good, juicy characters. Just smack it right on in there. I don't care how stupid the plot is. I don't care how much dumber it gets. You're looking at a massive Simply Sins fan. I love characters. So, with that being the case, you know what I love when characters are? My favorite point when characters do a certain thing? I love when characters are genuinely intelligent. It's rare. It's rare. It's rare. Heck, in the most major fight in the entire series up to this point, Gojo versus Sukuna, the longest fight in the entire series, characters are stupid. On both ends. On both ends. They're on both ends. So being completely real, the characters are stupid. Characters are generally stupid. They were messing around. They were oofing and goofing. They were being dumb. In the most serious fight in the entire series. The most pivotal fight in the entire series. I'm looking at Gojo. I'm looking at Sukuna. They made some dumb decisions. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna cap. As a person who's glazed as Gojo and has his master Sukuna slapping, both were being idiots from time to time. But luckily enough, Yuta Okkotsu was not hit with the stupid disease. He did the smartest thing in that scenario. And now here's the thing. Shock horror. I'm gonna have to come to Yuta Okkotsu's defense here. He's not a fraud for using his brain. I've been hearing a bunch of people. A bunch of Yuta, well, I guess not a Yuta yucker. Because Yuta yuckers are for Yuta. Yuta antis? Yuta, I guess, no, but Yuta yappers is still in favor of Yuta too. So I'm not sure what to call them. But Yuta haters, let's just be real. Yuta haters being like, oh, the bush camper, the fraud, he had to sneak Gojaku. And trust me, I think Gojaku's the GOAT too. But I also agree that actually, that my dream battle, my hypothetical favorite battle in the entire series, a proper rematch between Geto and Yuta, in the sense of a more trained, properly special grade, fully understanding and post-month training Yuta, and the most ancient living sorcerer in the entire series, I love the idea of it. But in order to make it happen, the cast would have to be dumb. And sure, I can take some stupidity. Stupidity leads to some of my favorite panels in this entire gosh darn manga. One of my favorite panels in Gojo vs. Sukuna is them both going into their dual domain clash. It is so metal seeing both of them go head to head. It was the stupidest thing Gojo could have done in that scenario. No lie, no lie. He should have just immediately got right on out of there, but he didn't. But guess what? It's one of the coolest moments in the entire series for me. Top tier stuff. Mahito staying to fight Yuji when he's on the verge of perishing. Stupid as all get out. If I was Mahito, I would have dipped immediately. The moment my soul was on like 2%, I'd be like, sorry, bro, the tank's running on empty. I gotta juice it. And I would have been gone. But of course, due to the fact that he didn't do that, I got the conclusion to one of my favorite fights in the entire series. Literally my favorite fight in the entire series, most likely. I have to rethink about that, though. Sometimes I'm really thinking on certain fights in the series that I really, really like. Heck, being real with you, Kashimo being so close to the water when he's very specifically an electric type Pokemon, stupid as all get out, still leads to one of my favorite conclusions of the fight where you see a card get to use his Giga Brand. Absolutely. Indubitably. Insanely. So I can take some stupidity. Don't get me wrong. I can encourage stupidity from time to time. But my favorite moment, my favorite thing, is when characters are allowed to use their brains. And sure, would it have been the coolest, most intense, and probably the most creative battle in the entire series, maybe even surpassing Kenjaku versus Takaba in terms of raw creativity and epicness? Yeah, Yuta versus Kenjaku very likely would have been that. But I'm not going to pretend here. I'm not going to gaslight myself into saying that Kenjaku is more powerful than Sukuna. That Kenjaku's more warranting of those 5 minutes, that short little time period that Yuta has. Sure, I want to believe in my heart of hearts that Yuji and Higuruma got it. That they pulled up, they studied 244, they went into the law library, they got it down, and they have a case perfectly written to guarantee Sukuna the DP, and they're going to get him up out of here like it's Vegeta with a dragon punch. But I think you know, that Sukuna is stronger than Kenjaku. And thusly, wasting those 5 minutes on Kenjaku could literally cost them their lives. Yuta could literally have a win button right now. He could have Jacob's Ladder. He may, once again, we have no idea what Yuta has. I always get on Yuta fans' case for this. I say Yuta fans. I always refer to Yuta fans as if I'm not a Yuta fan. But like, I always get on my fellow Yuta fans' case about this. Yeah, Yuta could have anything and everything. We just don't know. But once again, if I'm going fully into my hypothetical glazing bag, Yuta could literally whip out and smack anything on the table. Anything. Whether it be Jacob's Ladder, whether it be a hollow purple for all we know, whether it be, Star Ray, I don't know what the man could have. Bro could have he could have the wiki. Someone could have given him the JJK wiki and he could literally have everything. He could have Spatial Slash, including Dismantle, but guess what? He wouldn't be able to use any of that against Sukuna if he burnt his 5 minutes a day on Kenjaku. Ultimately, I love Kenny. I think Kenny's the main villain, even still as he's a head on the ground. But with that being the case, he's just not as powerful. He's not as dangerous. He's not as a viable, consistent, and world-ending threat like Sukuna is. Gojo would have sneezed in Kenjaku's general direction, and he would have died. Gojo did way more than sneeze in Sukuna's general direction, and he's currently Millie rocking in front of the Judge Man. So obviously there are scales to the threat, and the smartest thing to do is to do exactly what they did. Send Takaba, send that madman who most likely could not die to Kenjaku no matter how much Kenjaku tried. Get Kenjaku all nice and distracted, all confused on the fact that they sent Takaba of all people. You got Yuta, you got Maki, you got Akari, you sent Takaba to come get me? Interesting. No idea why I did it. Have them all focused on that. Who knows? Maybe they expected Takaba to get an awakening. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they were ready to just risk Takaba's life like this. Let Takaba go in, get them all distracted, have them all happy, smiling, let them get decapitated. Sure. Is the Maki meat muncher still inside me saying they should have sent Maki? Absolutely and indubitably. Because I think you want to have Yuta closer to the battlefield. But then again, Uyui can teleport. So, like, most likely the distance doesn't actually matter. Which is why 244 reads kind of weird to me. But regardless, that's another night for another time. But even still. So you want to guarantee your best chance of victory? Fine, go ahead. Send base Yuta, just have him decapitated. Why would you want to? Admittedly, I talk about characters being smart. I talk about Yuta being smart. I don't know why he didn't actually go for the head. And I know you're all going to be like, what you mean, Pencil? He did exactly what Thor couldn't do in Infinity War. He went straight for the dome. No, he didn't. I think they know at this point, especially considering they reviewed the Shibuya footage, Kenjaku's a brain. Choso definitely knows. He literally saw it. Kenjaku's a brain. Kenny isn't actually Geto. I know it sounds so weird because he's in Geto's body. He's been in Geto's body for up until this. He's been in Geto's body since chapter 1 all the way up into chapter 243. And who knows, maybe even beyond that. But he's a brain. So the only issue that I have with Yuta is that he swung a little bit too low. Like, and here's the thing, defending Yuta immediately, despite me getting on his case for that. I mean, it's easier to swing here because there's like less of a solid case like at least with the skull, right? Like there's something there. Like there's a bit of beefy bone in there. Like you go straight for the neck. The neck is mostly like you do have like neck bones and stuff like that, but your neck bones are generally much thinner than your skull and stuff like that. So I get that. But like Yuta, you do know he like gave you the only reason I'm gonna get on Yuta's case a little bit is because like Yuta, he literally left you with like X's that mark the spot. Like you know exactly where to cut to immediately get rid of Kenjaku. But he didn't do that. But still, even with that being the case, even my one little bit of critique, decapitating Kenjaku instead of actually fighting him is the smartest thing. It's the smartest thing. Because why would you fight him? Kenjaku's a stall tactic right now. For all intents and purposes. Just like Urume right now, if they didn't have a Kari who could kind of just like go forever and honestly kind of needs Urume in order to get in Jackpot and get into that role before he ends up fighting Sukuna, Urume and Kenny are stall tactics. They're powerful, don't get me wrong, some of the most powerful characters in the series. I know a lot of people still have Kenny at 3, and shoot, I want to keep Kenny at 3, but once again, without the... I need to see what happened here. If it really was just like some bad compositing, and like Kenny just couldn't react, or... I need some explanation. Because I want to keep Kenny at 3, but like, this is blatant. This is base Yuta. Like, I don't see a ring, I don't see... I can't even sense Rika anywhere near 243. So like, this just seems like base Yuta swinging and taking Kenjaku's head straight off. You could argue that maybe, I don't know. Once again, I'm going to glaze Yuta now. We're in the glazing Yuta arc. Welcome to That Guy with the Pencil. Where it's time to glaze Yuta. So, like, I'll just take Yuta being just a whole speed blitz tier above Kenjaku. Kind of knocks Kenjaku down a bunch of pegs, unless you think Yuta's just a blatant speed blitz tier above a bunch of other people, which I know a bunch of people do. So, I don't know. Maybe this is just fitting the Yuta agenda. Maybe I was just pushing the wrong agenda for the longest time. But, that being the case, taking out Kenjaku like this is the most efficient way to do it. It is a way that I wouldn't have expected, because I didn't expect the characters of the series to be that smart. Like, let's be real. I don't want to call the characters of JJK stupid sometimes, but they, hero or villain, they sometimes just don't make the brightest of decisions. And I know I'm no one to talk, right? Like, I am far from the sharpest spoon in any kitchen shed, but I'm proud of Yuta. And I'm not even mad at him that he waited for an opportunity like this, because it's just the smartest thing to do. Why get mad at a character for being optimal? When we're playing fighting games, what do we want? Optimal combos. When we're talking about characters making mistakes, why? Because they weren't optimal. So I'm not going to get a use case for being optimal here. Do I think it is underwhelming? Yes, 100%. I 100% believe that the hypothetical battle between Yuta and Kenjaku could have been the best battle in the entire series. But for this to be the outcome for it to be Yuta being an intelligent little fella and catching Kenny off guard, smartest thing to do. I hope not. I mean, I hope Yuta ends up okay. Once again, just the ominous hard cut from 243 right to 244 with no mention of where Yuta is. It feels suspicious. I think something's going to happen here. I've heard a lot of people saying that maybe Yuta versus Kenjaku will still properly happen in some way, shape, or form, but I'm leaning kind of towards that's over. Maybe Yuta gets possessed, maybe Takaba gets possessed, but overall the battle itself is fine for me. And in fact, it's good. It's good. And it's great even for me because of how smart Yuta Okkotsu was and how smart the cast was. It's not in many series where you will see characters be this optimal, and for that alone, I can respect it. However, that's what I think. Please let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave the big brain boy with an I or a Y, I don't care. You try to leave it down below if you made it all the way to the end. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do happen to have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month. Get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks will include the live reaction to the very next chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, I want to thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.